begin tonight from the ports, and some clearing agents say they're struggling to work with the new systems deployed for paperless transactions. Managers at the country's ports last Friday finally began a new process which seeks to do away with the huge documents required to do business at the ports. It has also automated most of the processes to help reduce the cost of operations. But after visiting the Tema port today, some of these agents have maintained that they are yet to appreciate the new structures that have been implemented. Ebenezer Sabute has more.
We are expecting the paperless port operations to begin at the Tema port over here. It's been over 5 hours since we got here, and there seems to be some challenges with some operators, i.e. freight forwarders and clearing agents, having difficulties with clearing their goods from the port because they have to go through the system. And some thought they were coming to meet the old system. Others also rushing earlier so that they could be able to meet the new system, such that they anticipate to have goods cleared paperless without any challenge today. But that dream is likely we are not going to have that dream today. We are still here, but things don't seem to be smooth as expected. Agents are going through a lot. Port officials have been engaging them. But earlier on, we've been engaging the head of public affairs at the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority, who have been giving us some insight about what is happening and how they intend to deal with the situation.
It's normal of human behavior. It's normal. They want to try and see if, because they are used to the old system, and maybe it depends on the individual. They feel that today they should just try it.
Another concern is that when they get here, the customs officials are not in. When I went to the long room actually, and there were only 2 people in the box working, and you could see so many people over there. Some of the clearing, they were not happy actually. And I got here, and it's like the same story. Only 2, information desks are working, and the other customs officials or wherever people are supposed to be are empty. What is happening to those people? Is it that they are no more working, or
no,
who is going to process the document for these clearing agents?
The documentation that we foresaw to be in the old process already, we didn't have the indication that there will be so many. And so in the morning, we made the plan preparation and provided 2 information desk staff. But when we got here and then the people are increasing, we are checking to confirm that it is the old process. And so we have added 1 more person.
Doesn't
and
mean
the
this number has
here.
Overwhelmed the officials?
I want to believe that because they know that we are going to start the process today, a number of them rush to start the process, so that they can conveniently complete it in the old system. But and that's what I feel, that a number of them, it's normal. They want to be sure that they are comfortable at least today or a few days, so they've done the process. In fact, we were collating statistics. We're collating statistics on the people who have processed. Some have even started the process and are waiting to pick their boxes on even as far as coming Friday. You see, so some of them have started the process.
So what is the plan B for dealing with these backlogs?
No, the plan B is what we are using right now. We have to face the system. It's natural, which is attending to those who have already started the process in the old system, because there's nothing you can do. You will not have the record of the information in the new system. So you phase systems out gradually. Those of them who have started in the old system, you attend to them to complete it in the old system. Those of them who are coming here this morning to start the new one are the ones we are advising and rejecting to go back and pass it in the new system.
So we'll be listening to that, but as you can see, people moving in and out, and she explains to me that some of the people here were not supposed to be here if they had followed the procedure as given by the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority and other operators like the GCNet and West Blue at the port. But they are here because they went through the old process. They began with the old process, and they think they can still finish with the process. But the issue is that when you get here, you have to start again. You have to begin with a new process. You can't end with the old process that you began with weeks ago or months ago. When you come here, you have to go through the new process again, because now we are going paperless and everything is being done electronically. So you better equip yourself with the various technologies that are available, or you are left out of the hook. Some challenges were also, has to do with registration of clearing agents and freight forwarders. They were supposed to have some biometric cards that will allow them access into the area or the data center, but some were not able to do that before coming here. So they came here in anticipation that they were coming to be allowed to transact business, only to come and have some, face disappointment, so to speak. So we are still monitoring events over here, but it hasn't been smooth as we are expected. We are hoping that by the close of the day, we'll be able to clear the first good, or we'll have a delivery of the first, cargo with the paperless system before day ends. Ebenezer Sabute for Joy Business. Tema.
All right, so that was my colleague Eben Sabute earlier at the Tema Port, just giving you an idea of what transpired over there. We still have our eyes on there, but a quick update on some other story we are following for you. The National Petroleum Authority has been in a crunch meeting with transport owners following a decision by tanker drivers to embark on a sit-down strike today. Joining us on the phone is Kwame Yanka, who has been following the story. Kwame, so what's the story behind the sit-down strike by these tanker drivers?
Well, Dario, the tanker drivers, according to them, have been shorting in a while. But considering the last 6 years, they have been taking home about 1,000 cedis monthly due to an agreement signed about 6 years ago. And as a result, they needed to sign a new one. So when the new government took over, MPA stepped in when they approached MPA to have their salary issues resolved. As a result, there was an MOEB between NPA, transporters, and the drivers. This agreement was reached, and then the 1,000 cedis was then raised to about 1,700 with some allowances. With the agreement, which was supposed to take effect July 1 this year, according to drivers, has not been respected, and therefore they need to embark on a sit-down strike today.
But what has been the impact, really? I mean, and I suppose it's been throughout the day in terms of transporting fuel from one station to the other?
Well, yes, they believe until they take such, such a decision, their future is being told, in the sense that they pay fees, they pay utilities, they have medical issues they have to occasionally deal with. So until they take such a decision, no matter how harsh it looks or it feels, they believe that they are doing this for the right cause.
All right. And what do we know is the outcome of the meeting between them and the MPA?
Well, there was an earlier meeting between MPA and Chief Executive was there. Hassan Sampoli was around. He met these drivers to tell them that, yes, as a regulator, they will do everything in their quarters to ensure that the issues are resolved. But then there was supposed to be a second meeting between leaders of the workers as well as NPA, and that was going to take place in Accra. But as I speak to you, I'm yet to get any updates, and I'm sure by 7 p.m. There should be an update of that meeting.
All right, thanks very much indeed. That was Kwame Yanka following a sit-down strike embarked upon by tanker drivers. We are certainly following that story for you. Now, moving on, the newly appointed board members of the Securities and Exchange Commission say they would look into the circumstances leading to the selective takeover of UT and Capital banks. Some have criticized the regulator, the Bank of Ghana, for failing to protect the shareholders. But speaking to Joy Business, chairman of the board, Dr. Yeboah Amwa, stated that a report will soon be released concerning the development. Charles Aite has more in this report.
So we have to know exactly how it was managed and then how to to address any concerns. The shares are still in the, if like, are held by the issuers, by the investors, the shareholders, and so forth. I believe that the first items is yet to be sold. And so more or less everything, I think, is still intact until all the various steps are done to, do appraisals and to sell things and to pay and to, sequence the list of, debts and so forth. Are they adequate to cover are the assets enough to cover the debts of the companies concerned? And if so, because if they are adequate, then shareholders get their monies back.
Finance Minister charged the board to ensure that the security sector in Ghana is much competitive.
I am committed to positioning Ghana as an international financial services center within the region, and I believe a stronger SEC will complement other key regulators to achieve this.
On his part, Vice President of Data Bank Ogbami Tete made the case that the regulator's choice for a selective takeover of the defunct banks was to ensure sanctity in the financial sector.
The Bank of Ghana did a very professional job in terms of how they managed the process, and from the bits and pieces coming out, it is clear that the situation is being well managed to lead to a situation where you have a win-win situation largely. So I think that all said and done, so far so good.
Other members of the board included the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson P. Esiama, among others. Now, Senior Minister Yao Safumafo has confirmed that the IMF program would be extended by 1 more year. There was some lack of clarity as to whether government was going to extend the program or not, despite an earlier statement by the IMF last week. But Mr. Mafo says the extension should be seen as technical and would have no negative impact on the economy. He's been speaking to my colleague, George Yafe.
We ourselves have come out with our benchmarks. We are saying that we are going to be, in terms of deficit, between 3.5 and 5% over the period till 2018. We are saying that we are going to ensure a growth of in the neighborhood of 8%. So these benchmarks we are putting on ourselves. Nobody, as far as I'm concerned, there is no additional benchmarks on anybody.
How prepared are you to fast track these benchmarks they're supposed to, or structure they're supposed to implement within this period?
But that extension itself is quite interesting. Look, we are doing a budget in November. This budget we are doing in November must necessarily have the input of IMF. Am I right? Yeah. Because we are not the program, let's say, till April. So we are preparing a budget in November this year. It's going to be, call it the IMF Ghana budget, composite budget. A budget has a cycle of 12 months. It really has from January to December. So de facto, that budget we are going to prepare in November is not going to end. It's going to be for up to December 2018. And it already has an IMF input. So really, the extension is academic.
You call it the technical extension?
Yes, the technical extension. That's the way I see it.
Already, some of the market players are describing it as a good omen, and therefore, you will still see that significant inflow of capital and all the rest. For you, what do you make of these reports or even comments that are coming in as a result of this technical extension?
Well, I think people always want to, because of the behavior of the stocks, behavior of your currency and that kind of thing. I think it's important that your development partners are on the same wavelength with you in terms of thinking. So it's in the interest of everybody that you are keeping faith with your development partners. And if that is a clean bill of health for others to look at you and even provide assistance, why not? And that's the way I see it.
But there are people who also worry that the longevity of this whole program will mean that certain conditionalities which may not favorable to us is going to last a little bit longer.
As I said, there is no conditionality. That's the first thing. And as I said, we are preparing a budget to be read in Parliament in November. In this budget, whether you like it or not, it's IMF Ghana government budget. And the budget will last from January to December. And therefore, already, technically, the fund is in there. So to me, the extension we are talking about is academic.
So what's your
All right, moving on to the telecoms industry, and original owners of Expresso Telecom say they have advanced moves to put the company back on a strong footing and regain its enviable position in the industry. This is coming after it emerged that Sudan Telecom, simply known as Sudatel, may not be the owners of Expresso Telecom after all. According to the national communication from the National Communications Authority, here's the rest of the story.
Clujason International Limited says it has secured partnership deals with several reputable multinational technology firms that should reposition the company as a huge force to reckon with in the telecom space. It is investing about $300 million to turn the fortunes of the company around. Executive Chairman Dr. Prince Kofi Clujason tells Joy Business they are rebuilding the company to readopt its original name, Celtel, but would operate with a new strategic direction.
We are going to provide a Wi-Fi strategy. We are moving into all the districts, one village, one Wi-Fi. Look, the president has a beautiful vision. One is in one factory, and there's no technology. How are you going to run those companies? And the agreement has been signed. We have $250 million budget to be able to roll. And we'll create jobs, we'll create wealth. And I've got a lot of people who have contacted me.
When is this supposed to take effect?
It's begun. We have people in the country today. We have about engineers in Ghana already. They are working. We have Cisco leading. We have Google. We have Starlight from India, for solutions. I can call you on. We have Facebook monetizing. We have Apple, Firstcom giving you devices. You're going to device strategy. We've signed an agreement. We met NCA. We met.
What did NCA say?
What did they say? They assisted us in the design that till today. When they come, we take them there. They must approve the process of technology. NCA is very supportive.
The original owners of the company met the concerned workers of the company last week. The leader of the concerned staff, Joseph Kojon Kansa, says they are pleased with the outcome.
They assured us of our salaries. So for concerned workers, what we are interested in is that the company must run and we'll have our salaries paid. We've found out many things. But we are surprised that the people leading us pretend not to know that.
You mean the current management?
The current management, and specifically the general manager. If I were the general manager, I'll resign, knowing that I'm not working for anyone. Otherwise, I'll go behind the scenes and find who I'm supposed to be working for. We can't be working in a vacuum. And we have tried to push them. But as Ghanaians as we are, they say, Charlie, we don't know, and then all of us go back and sit down. So we are hopeful that the coming days, the group that says owns the company will come in and start the operations.
He adds plans by the original owners to pay their outstanding salary and social security contribution arrears couldn't have come at a better time.
For us, it is an exciting news. The exciting news is that if someone is saying he is the owner and is giving us hope, then we should be happy. We are not interested in supporting anyone. And we are surprised that no one has come out to challenge this one who says he's the owner. But if anyone is going to challenge him, we don't care. What we care is that the company must run and our salaries paid. If the arrears can be paid in about 3 months, we're happy. We'll take it, laugh into the bank, and take care of our families, and then build our career.
So until any other contrary claims are perhaps made by whichever individuals or entities, it appears the company for now is on a new path to recovery, at least if the strategic plan outlined by the original owners is anything to go by.
You're watching Business Live. Let's do a quick update of the stock market. Joining me in studio right now is Bertha Atubiga of Gold Coast Fund Management. Great to have you, Bertha. So let's begin with how we fared last week and our projections for this week.
Okay, thank you very much. Last week, the stock market did very well. And, last week was also the end of the month for August on the stock market. That was on Thursday. And if you remember, beginning of the month, we made mention of the fact that there's a high possibility the stock market will close the month with average returns, that's the composite index, recording 40% or close to 40%. And it, it actually did that. it's the average returns on the Ghana Stock Exchange is now ranging around 40%, and that is very, very impressive. Last week we saw the total value of shares actually inch up, but the volumes of shares that traded, the value went up, but the volumes came down a little as compared to what we saw in the previous week. But we saw about 8 equities added up to investors' capital, and we had only 2 equities losing on their week open share prices. And EGL happens to top in terms of the absolute gainers. It added 87 pesos to its share price to close at 5 Ghana cedis. Sorry.
You're forgiving.
Yes. So it's closed at about 5 Ghana cedis, 5 pesos per share, and today it went up further by a peso to close at 5 Ghana cedis, 6 pesos per share. So that's what we saw. We had BOPP going up by 2 pesos. We had FML going up by 99 pesos to close at 5 cedis, 82. That was an increment of 5.82%. And then GGBL went up by a peso, HFC 20 pesos, and then the Trust Bank Limited went up by 4 pesos. Gold and Standard Chartered Bank were the only losers that we saw last week on the stock market. And today we had 3 equities gaining and 3 equities losing. We had EGL, like I mentioned earlier on, going up by a peso. Our FML went up further by 20 pesos today after trading 4,900 shares on the stock market. HFC went up by 10 pesos to close at 1 cedi, 30 pesos per share. Standard Chartered Bank lost 11 pesos. TBL went down by 2 pesos, and Unilever dropped 1 cedi, 32 pesos per share to close at 9 cedis, 10 pesos.
A bird whispered to me and said they expect Total to do very well this week. Is that what you're also projecting?
Total is expected to do very well this week. We're expecting some gains and trades to go on in Total. And today, it was actually part of the equities that traded on the stock market, and it was the 3rd highest traded equity in terms of volume on the Ghana Stock Exchange. So we should expect some trades in Total this week. All
right, Bertha Tubiga, we don't have enough time. Thanks very much for that update. Great to see you as always. Now, moving on to our interview of the day. And General Agricultural Workers Union is calling on for broader consultation by government over the implementation of the One Village, One Dam policy. Agric Minister Owusu-Efie has revealed the policy will take off after the rainy season, but General Secretary of GAU, Edward Karowe, is calling for a holistic approach in tackling issues related to irrigation in the rural farming communities.
Interview of the day.
To know the number of villages that need the dams, you need to know the cost, and that will inform you as to whether it is doable or it is not doable.
So farmers in the rural zones are faced with so many challenges. Are dams one of these challenges?
Well, the future of agriculture is water. Without water, there's no agriculture. Because our current technology base cannot support agriculture without water. So to make water available is a necessary factor for agricultural production. However, when you talk about a dam for agricultural purpose, you may have to know how long is that dam supposed to be able to provide water for the agricultural purposes. If you take the northern part of the country, almost 8 months of the year is without water. So if there's going to be agriculture throughout the year using the dams, it means the dam must contain water sufficient enough to irrigate the farms for not less than 8 months out of 12 months. So that particular dam will have to be big enough to be able to capture sufficient water that can be used for this number of months. And that has implication for cost. Because if the dam has to be big, then how much will it cost to build it? And if the cost is huge, then how many dams can you build given the number of villages that are available.
Interview of the day.
All right, that'll be it for Business Live. My name is Daryl Kwal. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We're back same time tomorrow.